The world was horrified by the motion picture Frankenstein. In 1935, horror turned to terror with The Bride of Frankenstein. In 1990, the makers of Basket Case and Brain Damage bring you...
Want a date?
Frankenhooker. Jeffrey Franken has a plan.
I just want to bring you back, Elizabeth.
He has the ingenuity.
I need female body parts.
He has everything he needs, except the raw materials.
Just hold still. Excellent. Oh, my God. Bunyan!
Wow! Jeffrey's creation is alive.
Looking for some action?
Oh, yeah.
She's sexy.
Want a date? You going out?
I'm on my way home, but thanks anyway.
And she's sutured to please.
Listen, I'm looking for a very tall, attractive woman. She's purple. She's got fresh stars on her.
She's in the bar!
Now, a motion picture like no other. A tender story of love and romance.
Want a date?
A gripping tale of lust and revenge. Frankenhooker.
Incredible.
Some assembly may be required.
Welcome to They Call This a Movie, testing the strength of friendships one terrible movie at a time. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and other podcast services by searching They Call This a Movie, and find us on Twitter and Instagram at TicTamPod. That's TCTAM Pod. Welcome back to They Call This a Movie. This is Anthony Delvecchio, and with me as always is Dan Aquino and Mark Meyer. Say hello, gentlemen.
Hey, friends.
Hello. Normally during October, I feel out of my depth as it is. And I think this is the one special episode in October where I even feel further like it should just be a three-way conversation tonight.
Are you tipping your hand of how much you did not enjoy this movie?
No, I actually enjoyed the movie, but I feel like you guys would have a more deeper conversation than me going, I thought this part was funny.
Mark, it's about hookers, Mark. How deep do you think this conversation is going to get?
Oh, you can get pretty deep.
That's what she said.
Yeah.
Before we get into the depths that Frankenhooker awaits us, we do have a guest from Halloween is Forever podcast, as well as Hop Nation USA, and welcome back to the show, Steve. Steve, thanks for joining us.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me back. This is, I thought about it, and the last time I was on the show, we also did Frank Henenlotter because we did Basket Case.
Yep. Not accidentally.
Yeah. Well, I just feel bad because this is also the first time I've ever seen Frankenhooker, and I just didn't learn from the last episode that Frank Henenlotter rules, and I should have been watching all of his other films, and I didn't learn that, and I feel bad, but, I got to watch this, and so, yeah, this is also great, and probably the funniest film ever made.
Yeah.
This movie goes full Basket Case at the end, too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, the things he learned in Basket Case, he brought it on for this. Yeah. And this is our back-to-back Trauma released. Am I not mistaken? Yeah.
Yes, I would like to think that this movie is in the Blade universe.
Well, I mean, lawnmowers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's Blade's cousin.
Yeah, it's the origin story.
Yeah. Yeah, so Steve, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you got going on with both Halloween is Forever and Hop Nation these days?
Sure. I'll just start because Hop Nation's pretty easy. That's just our craft beer podcast. It's me and my buddy Adam, and we've been doing it for a little bit over 5 years. And we go around the Pittsburgh area. We interview breweries, we talk to brewers, and we also review beers in the major Mid-Atlantic area. So like, I know you guys are Jersey, so most of the stuff you can get in Jersey, we get in Pittsburgh, so you can hear us talk about those beers, and sometimes we talk about home brewing. Halloween is Forever, though, is much like this show, except for it's always October on our show because it's all horror movies all the time. I don't think that there's the closest we got is I snuck in Beetlejuice. That's the closest we got to like not a horror movie.
Right. Gotcha.
But, yeah, every month we do a showdown where we let the audience choose what kind of genre of horror movie we're talking about, and we'll have like a showdown, and in that showdown somebody will get a championship belt, turns very WWE or AEW if you will, and we have a good time.
Yep. And I just joined you guys this past week. We talked about Halloween Ends, which was a lot of fun. So you guys go check that out. You guys also had a great episode at the beginning of the month where it wound up being the John Carpenter episode, and you pitted The Thing and Halloween against each other, along with Assault on Precinct 13, which was a lot of fun. Yeah. I don't know. Brian had a tough choice on his hands. I don't know if I could have made the Sophie's Choice of The Thing or Halloween.
It was a tough choice, but it was the choice he had to make in order for me to stay champion. Because
sure.
If it was Meg would have picked The Thing. If it was me, I would have picked The Thing. Like even though I was defending Carpenter's Halloween, if it was a choice for me, I would have picked The Thing. So in order for me to stay champ, I needed Brian, who is an unabashed lover of the film Halloween.
Sure.
Yep. But hey, as I said on the episode you were on, Anthony, I'm actually asking people to call me Mr. October because I am the current champ. So we can keep that in mind for this episode. I'll be okay with that too.
There you go. Yeah.
My friend of mine, his daughter is just getting into horror movies. Mm-hmm. I think I was telling Ant and Mark off podcast about this. He came up to me and was asking, my daughter wants some horror movies. What recommendations do you have? So I threw out, like, The Thing is one of my favorite horror movies of all time. So I threw that out. And my friend was like, I don't think she'll like that. It's too old. And at first I was kind of enraged because it's like the perfect horror movie. But then I realized she's 12 years old and they don't understand the beauty of these older horror movies like Halloween, The Thing, Nightmare on Elm Street. But they'll get into it as they grow up because those are the groundworks for major horror movies.
Even still, 12 might also still be too young for that film in particular, just because it's so fucking gross.
She saw Smile last night, I believe, and she loved that. So I kind of was like, well, if you like Smile, maybe check out It Follows because it has similar. I don't know if you've seen it, Steve, but it has a kind of similar premise from what I've seen.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a curse is passed down through some different means. It Follows is like sexually transmitted disease. The Smile is basically just someone smiling very creepily at you. So it's somewhat similar. So maybe she would like it, but I think she's more into current horror movies, not so much the older, unfortunately. But that'll come with time.
Yeah. She
trying to like the jump scare stuff.
Yeah. She might like going back to like the Ring films.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just the main thing is my friend says no nudity, so it kind of limits your choices there sometimes.
Yeah. I bet she'd be like a big James Wan fan.
Yeah, like The Conjuring and Annabelle and all that. I think that's a good idea. I also because I was starting to get a little annoyed when I kept suggesting really good horror movies. And like, no, that's too old. She says that's boring. I'm like, well, what about like Hereditary? Hereditary might be up her alley, but that's kind of a slow burn at first, and then the last 10 minutes is a roller coaster of craziness.
Yeah,
but that's another fantastic horror movie. It's hard to make these suggestions to kids.
Yeah. If he pisses you off enough, I would throw a Frank Henenlotter movie at him. Oh,
Ooh.
basket case. Oh, it's totally tame. She'll love it.
Yeah.
No nudity at all.
Set in early 1980s New York. It's fine. Don't
Yeah.
worry about it.
He'll come in the next day. Like, what the fuck, Dan?
You're fired.
Yeah, there's a lot of ammo on Tubi that you can just
Yeah.
drop, just bombs.
Yep. So before we get into this week's movie, just quick, we haven't put it up yet as the time of this recording, but it'll probably go up in between now and when we release this episode. Our poll for our October horror movie of the month will be up, so help us choose what movies we're going to pick. I think the theme is going to be Halloween sequels. So probably not Halloween Ends, because I just watched that and I already talked about that, but maybe one of us will pick Halloween Kills because that's ripe for the plucking. But there are plenty of bad movies to be had there at this point. The Halloween series. So check that out, and that will be our last episode of this month. Sorry, this month is almost over already.
Going too quick.
Yeah. But this week we have my pick. This week was my pick, and I picked once again. I think Basket Case was my pick last year, and I picked Frankenhooker because I hadn't seen Frankenhooker, but kind of wanted to keep the Frank Henenlotter love going, and wanted to pick this. And you know what? I really enjoyed this. This felt very Reanimator-ish.
Oh yeah,
It was very similar to Reanimator from the premise to the performance of the lead, James Lawrence, felt very much like Jeffrey Combs to me, mixed with maybe a little bit of Andrew McCarthy / Dana Carvey. I was getting those vibes.
He sounded like Nick DiPaolo.
Yeah,
Nick DiPaolo.
Sure. Yeah. Very New Jersey, New York accents going around. So I felt at home. But yeah, I want to hear what you guys think. Steve, what about you? Where are you coming from with Frankenhooker, and what did you think?
I mean, like I said, I already thought like this is the funniest movie I've seen like in a long time. It's so bonkers and off the wall with the places it goes. I'm sure we'll get to them, but like, yeah, just like every time he takes a big swing, he takes another one, and it's like, oh, Jesus, okay, keep going. Yeah, that's fine. It's hilarious. I think when it starts with super crack, it's just like, okay, sure. And then everything that follows super crack is just off the wall hilarious. So, yeah.
Definitely the best prostitute explosion scene I've ever seen.
Why won't anybody recreate that?
Okay, Dan, what about you? Where are you coming from? Frankenhooker.
I've seen this once before, many years ago, I think, just for another random, 31 days of horror watch-a-thon, just scrolling through, caught my eye. I enjoyed this movie. I think it, like Steve was saying, it's just bonkers and off the wall. It's schlock, and it takes itself not too serious, but serious enough where it can be enjoyed. I agree with you, Ant, with the Reanimator vibe. I also kind of got a little bit of Peter Jackson's early work, like Brain Dead and what's the one with the aliens?
Bad Taste.
Bad Taste, yeah. Some of the act and the camera work, especially in the beginning with like Paula Mullen, the main who plays Elizabeth. It did feel like that and very campy. She at first I thought that was Barbara Crampton as Elizabeth, but obviously not.
Yeah.
I enjoyed this. It's it's gratuitous at times, very much heavy on the nudity department, so I would not recommend this to my friend's daughter, as we were saying. And I think I remember when I first saw this, my first reaction was, well, not my first reaction, but going through it, one of the hookers I remembered from earlier research, wink, wink, Heather Hunter is in this movie. She's a former adult film star. And I was kind of hanging out, and like I saw that scene when he has all the girls around. It's like, holy shit, I know who that is. That's her big break. So yeah, it's got everything. This is like the perfect movie.
There you go. Yep, couldn't have put it any better than myself. A perfect movie, Frankenhooker.
No notes.
A perfect movie, Dan Aquino.
Yep, that'll be on the Rotten Tomatoes.
Yep. Well, the one pulled quote is Bill Murray. If you have to see one movie, make it Frankenhooker.
I believe it.
Mark, what about you?
Yeah,
Frankenhooker.
so I completely agree because it was going to be one of the things I brought up about how it felt very Reanimator, which was one of my favorite movies that we've watched on this podcast. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed just little things. I don't know if you guys noticed it, but I love how he like was too shy to speak up when he knew the lawnmower was going to kill his soon-to-be wife. And it was like, don't stand in front of it, not in front of it. and just like Blades, you were wondering why these people couldn't get away from this lawnmower. Like she had plenty of time to get away from that lawnmower, and just stood there and let it come right at her. But yeah, this movie was a lot of fun. There were parts that dragged a little bit, like when he was at the first time he goes to pick up the girls, and meets them at the car and all that stuff. But once you meet Zorro and you go in there and all that, the movie picks up and it's kind of a fun ride, at least for me, the rest of the way there. And I would love to know the choice to make the hookers blow up as though they were robots instead of humans. It makes sense later when the Frankenhooker is blowing up the male clients because she's using the lightning that reanimated her. But yeah, and you guys probably picked up on this, but I literally made a mental note of it that when that one girl blows up at the door trying to open it for Zorro, you can clearly tell it was like fireworks.
Sure.
That they were using.
That was Heather Hunter, Mark.
Oh, okay.
That was the Heather Hunter.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, DDPM. I didn't know that. So, yeah, that was like, the rest of them, I was like, okay, it kind of looks like, they were doing like blowing up dummies and stuff. But that literally, you like saw the fireworks shoot out when it probably wasn't supposed to. But yeah, it was a fun ride. I liked it. Just the vibe was all good.
Yeah. I think the answer for why they blew up like robots is because it was amazing. That's really
well.
It just looks awesome.
I mean, that was obvious.
The cleanest explosions of all time, too. Like, no blood anywhere.
Right. I'm assuming it's because Henenlotter had the money to, like, he obviously made some castings of heads because a lot of the heads look like the girls.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also the one Elizabeth prop that we see a lot through the film. But then just he found mannequins, like, and said,
yeah, mix and match.
Yeah, stuff them full of M80s and let's rip this.
I was reading on, I think it was Wikipedia or one of the trivia, was basically he blew his entire budget basically on that scene, and then he still hadn't shot the lab scene, like the stuff in the garage yet.
I did like how he had the mad scientist get up in his garage.
Yeah, it's very it's very Frankenstein-y,
Yeah. There's a line in that scene where all the hookers blow up that it might be one of the best lines ever uttered in film history, when the two women start kissing and he says, "Your body wasn't meant to do that."
My favorite's like, no, not the super crack.
Not the super. This guy is the original Walter White.
Yep, his crystal blue persuasion.
I wouldn't be surprised if executive producer in this movie was Nancy Reagan by any chance.
Oh, we should have added the throat goat to the picker.
Oh, how do we not do that?
Oh yeah, I really like Patty Mullen's performance as Frankenhooker / Elizabeth. I think she's really good in the second act because it is a wild performance.
Yeah,
I'm not 100% sure why she has. Does she have the other girl's brain?
No,
right?
Yeah, it wouldn't make sense. He didn't need another brain. Her brain was intact.
Yeah, so I don't know how all of Honey's dialogue was getting parroted back out of her mouth, but it works. I guess it's a conceit that they needed it for Zorro to kind of pick up on it.
Yeah,
really more than anything. But
I think it's just Frank Henenlotter was ahead of his time. He understood the ideas of like generational trauma, and because she was using the actual body parts, they were still encoded with the DNA and the biome, the gut biome residuals of all the other women.
Sure, I
So
buy it.
affected-
Yeah, I was gonna say I'd buy that,
Yeah.
and it just makes it more entertaining.
Yeah, it just makes it hilarious the way she
Yeah.
is just like staring off into space and then spasming and just recalling specific lines of dialogue, and that's it. But it's I agree. It's a hilarious performance.
It might be the best performance by a Playmate of the Year ever.
Probably.
Yeah. I enjoyed the completely natural acting by the pimp when he finds out that Jeffrey's looking for Zorro's girls.
Oh yeah, that guy.
Did you
He's
do the
like-
right thing? Did you?
Two.
The one thing I kind of wish they would have done, and it didn't fit in this movie, but I was hoping they would kind of pay a little bit more of an homage to the classic Universal Frankenstein movie, where you maybe put a couple scenes in where there's like a blind man that she runs into, or the little girl at the lake. That's a famous scene. Or even just being chased by maybe some angry pimps or something like that with torches.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't have fit in this movie, but I think that could have been cool.
Yeah, I think you can transplant the blind person thing for her first John.
Yes.
There.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that works perfectly because the guy can't see. She's disfigured horribly, and obviously there's something wrong there.
Yeah.
But,
the remake of the film is that all the Johns she's with, she doesn't explode them; she just explodes their dicks, and that's what causes them to chase her back to New Jersey with the pitchforks and such.
I can see that visual of them chasing her across the bridge
Mhm.
into Jersey. I think that would be hilarious.
Or through the Lincoln Tunnel. Yeah.
Yeah. I will say that I wish there was more Frankenhooker just running amok.
Yeah.
I think it does, as Mark said, there's our parts that drag a little bit in the middle, and that's mostly because I just want them to get to Frankenhooker already at that point. Because it is a long scene of his like medical evaluations of the girls. That's probably like a 10-minute scene, or feels like it's 10 minutes at least. And yeah, you just want to see Elizabeth kind of just going around shitty New York, pre-Giuliani New York, and just causing havoc. Would like to see that a little bit more. But yeah, what we have is a lot of fun. Would you guys say, where would you rank this in terms of the Henenlotter movies we've done? So we've done Basket Case and this. Which one would you prefer?
Steve, if you would like to answer first.
Sure. Yeah, I think I definitely would rank this one above Basket Case. I like Basket Case a lot, but there's just something, I don't know, even though, like you're saying, it does drag in that scene where he's measuring the girls. Like, I think he measures the girls' legs like 3 times, and it's like, we've seen that. We don't, but just overall, the film, it's funnier, and I feel like it has more character to it, whereas, like, there's fun characters in Basket Case, like specifically like the neighbor who's also a sex worker. Frank Henenlotter loves his sex workers, I guess, but yeah, just I don't know. I feel like he captures that old pre-Giuliani New York better in this one as well, because you see like kind of the Skid Row alleys and like this just disgustingness on the outside and the inside. You get some subway stuff, and then also just something that stood out in the very beginning of the film is when they're going into the backyard of the party. I was like, that's such a mid-Atlantic backyard, because it's all uneven. It's like, like it goes up a slope. It's all uneven. There's shit everywhere. I was like, that looks like everybody's backyard I've ever known.
Yeah. So I would lean this movie as well, just because of, as I said earlier, the vibes of Reanimator, and that probably being one of my favorite horror movies. So yeah, I think for that sense, like I would judge this based on which one would I watch a second or third time without needing to for a podcast, and I would probably choose this one over that.
Okay. Dan, what about you?
I'm gonna go with Basket Case. I feel like that's a more traditional horror movie.
Sure.
than this. Like Steve was saying, this is kind of like horror comedy. And it's definitely played for laughs more so than scares or anything like that. I do like I like the overall execution of Frankenhooker. It delivers on its name.
Yep.
But yeah, Basket Case. I remember Anthony. I believe you and I watched it at your old apartment. I think it was the first time I had ever seen it, so I didn't really know what to expect from it. I didn't know what was in the basket itself, and yeah, it's very dirty and grungy. You feel for the main character in that movie. Obviously, the twin that was separated from the character looks very corny, and it's not a good look. But it's low budget, but it's still it's kind of etched in the zeitgeist of B horror movies.
Sure.
Yeah, I like them both. You could say 1 and 1A here, but I would probably go more so Basket Case.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think they fill different wants in a movie you're watching. I don't think they're, I don't think you would watch one instead of the other. Like you would be in the mood for one and not the other necessarily. I think I would probably lean Frankenhooker. I think Basket Case is a very mean movie. It's very mean spirited. This one isn't really. It's sort of feminist too with the end. I thought. With what's his name, Jeffrey. Kind of getting his comeuppance in terms of he throws away the idea of he just like throws away to the side her idea of like I'm not me. He's like, well, what does it matter? I've made you better, basically. And then that guy gets comeuppance immediately after that, after he gets his head chopped off by Zorro, which made me laugh out loud when the head just popped off.
Lopped right off.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a great time with Frankenhooker. And it's our second Troma movie in a row.
I didn't quite understand. So Elizabeth was basically getting her revenge on Jeffrey.
I think revenge is a tough word, but it's more of just like, well, I had it's kind of just what's good for the goose is good for the gander sort of thing. It's like, well, you just said I shouldn't worry about the fact that you've replaced my body parts with other people's body parts because you had to make do with what you had, and that's just what I'm doing. So yeah.
And like he already admitted the conceit, like the formula and everything only works for a feminine body. So it's not like she went out of her way to like craft his head onto a dog's body or something fucked up like that.
Right.
She just she gave him a complete female body. She didn't give him like a torso and a skateboard or and like say, hey, make do with that fuckface. But
Yeah,
right.
For some reason, I thought she was gonna put his body on Zorro or his head on Zorro's body.
Yeah,
But it had been years since I'd seen this, so I was still surprised when I saw the ending.
Yeah, this gave him a great rack.
It reminded me of the Simpsons. When Krusty gets the boob job.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not complaining.
Yeah. So Frankenhooker from 1990 was directed by Frank Henenlotter, and as we mentioned, he's directed Basket Case before this and Brain Damage, as well as a bunch of others. Stars James Lawrence, Patty Mullen, C.K. Stiefel, Judy Grafe, Louise Lasser, Joseph Gonzalez, Beverly Bonner, and Heather Hunter. Louise Lasser, a repeater from when we did Blood Rage. As the
Does she count as a 3 times since we did 3 separate episodes on Blood Rage? Or 2 separate episodes on Blood Rage?
2 separate episodes of Blood Rage. Yeah, we did the commentary in the regular episode. So yeah, I'll allow it because
Is she Jeffrey's mother in this?
she's Jeffrey's mom. Yeah.
Oh boy, she had a rough go of it in this movie. I think
She does not look the same. I will say that.
Not that. It's just her line reading
Oh.
was brutal to listen to.
Yeah.
It's like she was reading off a cue card that was just off camera.
Yeah, I think Louise Lasser had a tough couple of years. I think.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to be mean at all, but it was just wow. I don't know what was going on there.
Beverly Bonner, I believe, reprises her role from Basket Case.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's speaking up for the hookers, right?
Yeah. I think she also I think she plays the same role in Basket Case 2 from what I was reading.
Interesting. She
So
died recently, 2 years ago.
oh, look at that.
November 18th, 2020, 77 years old.
Frankenhooker has an IMDb score of 6.2 and a Rotten Tomato score of 57%. Budget $2.5 million. Box office $205,000. So
$205 million.
I think Frank Henenlotter is laundering some people's money with the money he's getting and the money they're
Making.
getting from it. Yeah, $205,000, man. Run you out on a rail.
A little bit of took a little bit of a bath on this one.
Yeah. He gave those producers some super crack before.
Well, that's probably where most of the budget went to was the super crack.
Well,
What
which
was
you
the
also
super
don't.
crack? It
What was
was
that?
like it looked like Party City ice cubes, pretty much.
Well, yeah. I mean, how
What
else
you
would
don't know.
represent that?
Yeah. What you don't know is that bag of super crack was actually just regular crack, and then they
Oh,
were
okay.
selling it.
There you go. Yeah. You guys want to get into the plot?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right, Dan, what do you got for us this week?
All right, we're gonna give a shout out to our friends Brittany and Tia, and we would like for you to check out their podcast, The Top 10 with Tia. It's a weekly podcast where Tia and Brittany run down their top 10 list of the week. So if that is something that you would enjoy, just go on over to geekvibesnation.com, search Top 10 with Tia, and give it a listen.
Okay, great. And we are going to take a quick break, and you guys are going to listen to messages from friends of the podcast, and we will be right back.
Hey everyone, this is Steve,
And this is Adam,
and we're part of the Hop Nation USA podcast.
Pittsburgh's #3 craft beer podcast.
Join us every Friday for new beer reviews.
We'll talk about the news, history, and homebrewing.
Plus, we'll sit down with the best brewers and industry personalities that'll have us.
So whether you're a casual drinker, a hazy boy hophead,
Or even if you're a whale hunting cellar hoarder.
just search Hop Nation USA on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcatcher and join the nation.
Oh, hi. Didn't see you there. It's me, George, from the best little horror house in Philly, the show where we talk about the best horror movie ever made, according to our guest at least. We've talked about groundbreaking classics like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Alien, but we've also got a lot of great ones coming up, including some very fun guests like Len Kabaczynski of Swamp Zombies and Red Letter Media fame, Caroline Williams, the star of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, and Chase Williamson from John Dies at the End. So make sure you're subscribed to the best little horror house in Philly, and I'll see you boils and ghouls over there.
And welcome back. Now it's time to get into plot for Frankenhooker. We open on Jeffrey, our assumed hero, sitting at the kitchen table experimenting on a brain with an eye hooked up to it, as well as to a bunch of nodes and connected to a camera as he tries to get it to listen to his commands. And he's apparently doing this during a family party, which is weird. Meanwhile, his wife is info dumping outside with a friend about Jeffrey and the fact that he's an amateur doctor.
And apparently did stomach stapling operation on her.
Yep. Yeah, because she's too fat, according to this movie.
Oh boy.
The 80s or 90s, I guess.
And it's like it was very subtle kind of like padding too. Like they gave her kind of a big butt, but that was about it.
I was kind of hoping the Cyclops brain would play a little bit more of a factor in this movie.
Yeah.
Because it only shows up in 2 scenes, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Just
no one's
there
freaked out by it.
Yeah, no, his mom is like, that's such a good job.
Yeah. Yeah, she's just like, oh, wow, great. That's, good for you. Why is no one screaming in terror at this abomination, an affront to God?
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty clear that it's a human eye, too.
Yeah.
Like,
Who was it?
Yeah, where did he get these things from?
I love that the in-laws are so dismissive of it. And she's just like, I'm just going to make my coleslaw here.
Yeah. Right next to this brain that you're working on, I'm going to set out the finger foods. Yeah. I would like to see him like kind of treat that as like his best friend. And like rather than talking to nobody like Elizabeth, he's just like talking to the brain as a confidant.
That would have been so much better than the whole like drilling into parts of his brain.
Oh yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, and it was kind of pointless.
Yeah, I guess it was just like whenever he got like overstimulated or started to have like panic attacks of some sort, he used it to like calm his nerves.
Yeah.
Which was just it was like the first time it happened, I was like, wow, this is wild.
The first time he does it, I couldn't help but think about it's in Ghostbusters where I think it's Bill Murray is talking to Harold Ramis and Egon is like, Venkman's like, oh, like that time you almost drilled into your own head.
Yeah.
And Egon says, hey, it would have worked too if you hadn't stopped me. And it's all I could think of. I could only think of Ghostbusters and Egon drilling into his own head to stimulate thought.
I forgot about that, but yeah. And meanwhile, later we realize that it's his wife's dad's birthday, and she surprises her dad with a remote control lawnmower that Jeffrey rigged up. But as she shows him how to use it, she turns it on and winds up getting chopped up into blades, much like the movie Blades.
Cinematic universe.
Yep. I mean, maybe it breaks out of some sort of prison that the cops taken in for evidence, and then it finds its way into the golf course in Cape May.
That should have been the stinger at the end.
Yeah.
Blades will return.
Dramatic music hits.
Just showing the lawnmower going across some grass, and it's just the sign for the golf course.
Yeah. Tall Grass Country Club.
Oh, yeah.
We then cut to the credits as Jeffrey starts marking up anatomy drawings with a red marker. On the top of this drawing, he has taped a picture of his wife's head, then puts on a VHS that he has stashed in a hollowed-out Grey's Anatomy textbook. Contains a news report on the tragedy.
Yeah, one question.
Yep.
Was that photo from, like, the coroner?
Oh, yeah, 100%, right? Because her eyes are closed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that's either him creepily taking a photo of her sleeping, which I wouldn't put past them, or for some reason the head was at the coroner, but now he has, as we'll find out. And it's just, that's very, like, I think they took that photo and then I guess maybe changed something in the story.
Right. I mean, it could be him just taking a creepy photo because in the news report they mentioned that some pieces of the body have gone missing. I'm assuming that means that he stole everything that he was going to steal at the crime scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you also catch in this news report that the female news reporter mentions that his girlfriend is girthful?
No, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she calls her girthful. I was like,
yeah,
that's the weirdest way to call somebody fat on a live news broadcast.
Yeah.
Do they normally mention that in the news? Right.
That was
that out.
That was the whole point. All the adjectives and stuff she was using were, on purpose for laughs. But yeah, I didn't catch girthful, but that would fit in what they were doing.
Yeah. They usually don't describe a body as a tossed salad either.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I guess they really had to try and play up with the fact that she was overweight, just so it wasn't just obvious that it was just her body. That what they were trying to pass off as other people's body parts.
I think it wouldn't it be better if it was just Jeffrey who thinks she's fat, because she's clearly not fat.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
What's the point of the news reporter telling us she's fat? How would they know? She's dead. She's chopped up.
That's fair.
Yeah.
They weighed the chunks.
Oh, that's what. Okay.
Chunks. I would bet that mother just in the middle of the interview with the press was just like, yeah, she was fat, or
Yeah, I guess so, because that was
needed to trim down.
Yeah, that was the drama between her and her mother was her weight. Because she liked pretzels, God forbid.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why the pretzels come in later. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't get this. Why are we focusing on the pretzels?
Because they're carbs.
Yeah, all those carbs.
So the VHS has a news report of the tragedy, and they allude to the fact that not all of Elizabeth's body parts were recovered at the scene. And then later, Jeffrey's mother comes into the room and tells him it's not healthy for him to continue to obsess over Elizabeth, and he should stop watching the tape. And there's a cute checkout girl at the grocery store that is asking about him. At the very least, she wishes he'd go back to medical school. And then she leaves. Later, he goes and gets some things he stole from his job at the power plant from his trunk and brings into the garage, which he has set up as some sort of laboratory, or laboratory, as I like to call it, because I watched Dexter's Lab.
Yeah, like a laboratory in Raccoon City.
Yeah. In the freezer, he's keeping her head in some sort of rejuvenating ooze in order to keep her head from decaying. And he has some dinner with the head, feeding it wine as it spills out the bottom of it.
I laughed out loud at that part when
joke.
it starts staining the thing below it.
And then he shows her some mock-ups of potential new bodies, which are basically just centerfolds that he taped her head onto.
My fine collection of pornography.
Yeah, I think that was just him flexing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at all the porn I bought.
And there's nothing you could do about it because you're dead.
On top of the wine pouring out the bottom of the head, this also has another joke in it. And it's why I think this movie's so funny, is that everything is played straight. There's no winking at the camera.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the way the scene starts is he's pulling her head out of the freezer and he's like, "Do you feel like Italian tonight?" And then later on in the scene where they're having dinner, he has a cloche. He pulls the cloche open and it's just a fucking slice of pizza.
Oh, thank you for mentioning that. That was great.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, but it's done without winking at the camera. It's not like, oh, why said Italian? It's none of that shit. It's just everything in this is played straight, which makes it so much funnier.
Yeah, and they don't call attention to it, too. You could have easily missed that joke.
Mm-hmm.
He then reads a terrible poem to her and then puts her body parts back in the freezer. Later, he's back in his bedroom talking to a small anatomy model with Elizabeth's head on it, obsessing over the plan to find a new body for his wife. Turns on the TV and sees a weather report saying that it's going to storm in 2 days, which means he needs to get a body before that. So he starts to stress out so much in order to make himself relax. He drills into his own brain, which stimulates his brain to help him think. And he gets the idea to find stewardesses, but then thinks better of it. So then he drills into his brain again and comes up with the idea of prostitutes.
And there just happens to be thousands of them right over the bridge.
Yeah, this sort of kind of reminds me of the attitude that Chud has towards houseless people.
Yes,
right?
I had that written down. This is a very dangerous precedent this movie is setting.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, I'll just get rid of hookers. No one will miss them.
Yeah. I mean, I don't necessarily. I don't think I don't think Frank Henenlotter feels like prostitutes are necessarily disposable, but maybe it's a social commentary on that idea.
Yeah. Well, the thought is in the commentary is that most serial killers, kill hookers or sex workers because they feel like they're cleaning up society. So I don't know if he was drawing the analog that Jeffrey thought, oh no, like no one's going to miss these people. I can just get one of them.
Right when he makes the super crack, he says, "Oh, they're going to die anyway. I'm expediting the process here."
Yeah, exactly.
So he doesn't really care.
But then he makes the turn as we get to.
Yeah.
I'm surprised he didn't forget about Elizabeth once he was in that room full of hotties.
This is a movie about true love, man, and the lengths you would go to preserve that true love. It's very romantic in that way.
It is, yeah.
He did recognize it was important for him to save her head, because that's where her brain and personality are. That's what was most important about Elizabeth. Yep. If he just wanted to save her boobs, he could have saved her boobs.
That's a good point.
That's true. Yeah.
Are we saying he's a good guy?
No.
Okay.
He's at least not a terrible husband.
Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe he's not super. Oh, he definitely is superficial.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
100%. Yeah, he's a jerk.
Yeah, but he does go through great lengths to keep his marriage together.
I gotta say, I wouldn't do that for my my marriage. Once they're done, I don't have the skills or the means to put her back together. So
you wouldn't invent super crack in order to get a whole bunch of dead hookers in order to find the body to put Jen's head back onto?
I might start to do it, but then get like sidetracked doing something else and then just completely forget about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think I don't know how to make regular crack.
Well, I don't think
you don't even know where to get it.
Yeah. I don't think he did either.
Yeah.
He figured it out real quick though.
Yeah, I guess we're supposed to assume he's pretty smart. I mean, he does invent a way to bring someone back to life. So
yeah, that's impressive in and of itself.
Yeah. I am surprised though that they don't play up the idea that like maybe he thought he was the one that thought she was like overweight. only because he spends so much time meticulously trying to find the quote unquote perfect body.
Yeah.
When it would have made like his whole plan was finding the best parts of several women. When it would have just been such an easier plan of just to be like, I just need to find a woman with a good figure, right?
Yeah.
Then you only got to kill one hooker,
right? But then it flies in the face of Frankenstein,
right?
Right, because Frankenstein is made from several body parts, not just the one.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's at least a head and a body. You know,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
still
and
that.
You couldn't make the joke about having a darker skin arm.
I was very, very nervous once they showed Heather Hunter because she's African American. So I was like, oh, they got to be careful with this one.
Yeah.
Like, what are they going to make her body part?
I just realized his name is Jeffrey, and then he puts on.
Jeffrey.
I have in my notes.
Is it? I think it's Jeffrey Shelley.
No, it's Jeffrey Franken.
Franken.
Oh, Franken. Okay.
Elizabeth's maiden name is Shelley.
Okay, there you go.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah.
There you go. I was gonna say, because in my notes I have when he goes looking for the prostitutes, I'd say that he puts on Jeffrey Dahmer glasses.
Yeah.
And then I was wondering where this lined up to where he was apprehended, but that was 1991. So this was after.
Before. Yeah.
Yeah, it was before that. I had that as well though, and like I also had another note. Have any of you guys ever watched the IT Crowd?
No.
A couple, but not much.
Okay. Well, there's the character. This will just be for the audience, then I guess.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
there's the character Moss, and he has the big, like, thick horn-rimmed glasses. And then anytime he needs to think about something, he puts on a bigger set of those same glasses. And so just
is that Attaway, or however you say his name? Is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I was just thinking about like he had to put on his extra big set of Dahmer glasses to blow up a bunch of streetwalkers.
I hated that scene when he's driving down the alleyways and he's like talking to himself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so it didn't add anything to the scene. It's just him rambling like a lunatic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which again, to your idea, if he was talking to like if he had the brain eye in a jar and was like talking to it and having it observe as well, it could have been like just like a goofy puppet moment.
Yeah, that would have been a lot of fun if it was a little road trip with the brain.
Yeah,
maybe
the little brain.
Yeah, maybe the little brain is able to like here's the one, kind of like somehow signal like, oh, try this one right here. But like they have that connection somehow.
Mm-hmm. I just want to see the brain in like a jar just buckled into the back seat.
Yeah,
right.
How great is that?
It's a good sight gag.
It's adorable.
Like earlier, the eye is like doing a recording of him.
Mm-hmm.
So like when he's testing it, so like maybe the eye would have had powers to like take their measurements like the Terminator.
Oh, that'd be great. Like his science assistant.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Igor.
There we go.
Perfect. Look at that. Writes itself practically.
So he puts on his best Jeffrey Dahmer glasses and heads to pre-Giuliani New York City to find the right girl or girls, which is the case. Finds a girl who immediately pulls down her top to show him her tits when he says he's looking for a girl with the right parts. She says she's got all the right parts in all the right places. Flashes a big wad of cash at her, into which she jumps at the opportunity to get his car, but he says he needs like 6 or 7 girls because he wants to put on a beauty contest for his brother for his birthday. So the girl says he needs to run past Zorro, takes him into the bar to meet up with Zorro. She takes him through the back into the men's room, which is flooded with a bunch of degenerates and at least one of the Ramones, it looked like. And people are smoking crack, fucking in the stalls, and trading drugs left and right. The girl talks with Zorro and tells Jeffrey that Zorro will take care of him. So Jeffrey tells him that his girls are the best, and if you want the best, you got to pay for the best. So Jeffrey says he's sure they can work out a price, and also ask about the cost of some crack.
This scene's so great because it's like Henenlotter might be the proto filmmaker for mumblecore because it's so chaotic and there's so many people just wandering around making noise, carrying on. And it's like it's so wonderful though that he just populates the entire scene with so many degens.
Yeah. The couple in the stall, I guess it was a throuple in the stall.
Well,
they were
one guy just like looking.
Yeah, it was like weirdly like they were like an animatronic where it was just like they kept going through the same loop. Like the door would open, and the other guy would like push the guy out to close it, and then it would just like 2 seconds later do the same thing. Yeah, I just thought it was weird how just it almost seemed like it was on like a 4-second loop,
like a Wild West saloon.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's definitely he does a good job of setting the scene. Like it makes you feel Jeffrey's kind of like how uncomfortable he is there.
Yeah.
Because I know I felt very uncomfortable being there, and I like how Zorro was just standing in the middle of all this chaos happening.
Yeah,
just like observing his domain. Like, people are banging around him, doing drugs, and he's just like, "Yes, this is all mine."
Degenerate Freddie Mercury.
And in every scene that Zorro is in, he's constantly flexing.
Yes.
He's never not flexing. And I don't know if that was his decision or Frank Henenlotter's decision.
I think it's the guy who played Zorro. He's just like, I've worked very hard on all these muscles. I'm gonna make sure everyone sees them.
I'm gonna be flexing and I'm gonna be shiny. Those are in my contract.
Yeah. Back in his house, Jeffrey starts cooking up some super crack using the crack vials he bought in order to use it on the potential girls he's going to buy and harvest their body parts. Then watches a talk show program about a woman that is trying to fight for equal rights for sex workers. Then he imagines Zorro beating up on Elizabeth. Starts freaking out again, so he drills into his own head to calm himself down. And he convinces himself that he's not killing these girls because the super crack is going to kill them. And they'll be taking the super crack on their own accord. He's not going to be holding a gun to their head. And he starts testing the super crack on a guinea pig, and it explodes.
Is this kind of like, what is it, Schrodinger's cat? Is that what it is?
Schrodinger's cat is a idea that a cat in a box is both alive and dead at the same time until you open the box to confirm. So it's like a thought experiment sort of thing.
Gotcha. So I wasn't sure if that experiment pertained to this, because you're like, well, I'm not giving it to them, but in reality, he is giving it to them because it's there.
No, I just think he's lying to himself more than anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just surprised I was able to pick out the right experiment.
You pull Schrodinger's cat out of your ass.
I did. I was like, it's either that or Pavlov's dog. I couldn't remember which one. I knew it had something to do with a cat or a dog.
Well, neither apply really, but
well, I get you can make an argument that the hookers with the crack is like Pavlov's dog, right? You just you show it to them and they want it.
Sure.
Yeah, but I mean that's more about doing. Pavlov's dog is like you do a signal and then they want the crack, but you just see crack and you want crack.
Yeah, you could argue it's Schrodinger's cat as Zorro while he's banging on the door. I was like, so to Zorro's mind, the girls are both exploded and not exploded until he opens that door and confirms. Yeah,
with a head hitting him in
the face and knocking him out cold.
And you guys told me you weren't going to go deep in this episode.
That's true. A good point. He then goes to meet with Honey, and they meet the girl that he met the other night, and she brings him up to the room, and he brings him in front of a series of girls, and the plan is he wants to play doctor, quote unquote. So there's a series of tests on the girls, measuring their legs, breasts, checking out their arms, being very clinical about everything. And after, Jeffrey starts panicking over what his plan is and starts to second guess himself. So he tells them he can't decide which girls he wants, and they wind up going through his bag and finds the super crack. So they go absolutely bonkers, each smoking up some of the super crack and holding them down and just going crazy, dancing, making out with each other. Oh, another great line for them. This is when they start the music, and he just yells out, "Not the devil's music."
Devil's music. What is the devil? Was that like hip hop? It didn't sound. I don't know what kind of music was it.
It definitely would have been like rock, and I think because it's a made-up song for this movie, and I think they're trying to rip off like punk and like grungy rock at this point.
Yeah,
it's wild because Jeffrey is this crazy scientist who's willing to do anything, but he's also a huge fucking square.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Two women are making out, and he's like, "No, that's not right." Like, what are you doing, nerd?
Like, you spent all this money on these women, you should be fucking these women, not
Yeah,
Not
I think
measuring them.
this is it's incredible the what the mind is willing to I guess forego because
Yeah.
he's willing to kill these people, but they can't make out with each other. That's a step too far.
See, now I'm gonna say some offensive things, especially to Anthony and his family, but we are talking about a New Jersey boy, and they made the mistake by not naming him Jeffrey Franchetti, because then it would have made sense that, like, he can't be doing things against the Lord. He's be a nice Christian boy from Italy, loves his mom's, he loves his mom's gravy, and then of course it's the devil's music. That ain't Sinatra. What is this trash? Turn it off.
Yeah. These like I said, these accents made me feel right at home.
Yeah.
They're good. Again, also appreciative of Frank Henenlotter just letting people speak the way they speak.
Yeah. Yeah, because I don't really know where the guy that played Jeffrey is from, but
He's from New York.
Patty Cullen's from like Long Island, I think, or Staten Island.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was born in New York, New York.
Yeah.
From what I saw.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure everybody's local in this.
Yeah. No one's flying in from LA.
I think perhaps the furthest is a guest star is the weatherman. And he's also like a person of note because it's John Zachary, who was the host of Chiller Theater in Philadelphia for a while.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, and I think Zachary maybe also appeared in Basket Case. Yeah, he met Henenlotter on a different film, but Henenlotter called him in to be the mad scientist weatherman.
Oh, interesting. The guy that does the report with what's her name, Beverly Bonner. He looked like he was a very interesting look, and he really wasn't in anything. He looked real familiar, but Tom Hare plays Motormouth.
Oh, the TV show, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. He did look familiar. I couldn't quite place him.
But he doesn't really have much of anything. I was surprised. I thought maybe he might have been like a musician or something like that. But
yeah,
I didn't know Frank Henenlotter also did Brain Damage.
That's where Zachary. That's where he met Zachary.
Okay, interesting. Because that's Joseph Gonzalez. Zorro is also in that apparently.
Oh.
So he's bringing back the he knows who he likes to work with.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, I'm sure if like with a guy like him and putting together the weird movies that he does, I think once you find a person that's like down with your style and what you're doing the first time, he's like, oh, that's a person I can count on to do just about anything,
Yeah, makes sense.
And eventually the super crack starts taking effect and the girls start exploding left and right in hilarious fashion. Easily the best scene in the movie. Just
best scene of any movie.
Yeah, it might be. It's really you really can't have more fun watching women explode. That's really all it comes down to.
It's not gratuitous. It's just very, it's comical.
It's outlandish, yeah.
Yeah.
It's so like, I mean, you see the hamster explode earlier, but you think surely that's not going to be what happens when they do the super crack.
Yeah,
surely.
Yeah,
surely it can't be that. But no, it's exactly that. It's exactly Looney Tunes.
I was torn because it's awesome how they do it. It's great that they explode in such a ridiculous fashion. But I thought I remember when I first saw it, like, oh, I guess the crack will kill them, and then he'll just take their body parts that he wants.
Yeah.
Like he would just, I guess, saw them off and then stitch them all back together. But no, everything explodes in a very nice, neat way. So he can just pick up the body parts that he wants and stash the rest away.
Yeah, I guess I always sort of thought that wasn't his intention, but I guess he really doesn't like change the formula after the guinea pig dies. So I guess it wasn't really something that he was looking to avoid. Because I thought the same thing. I thought he was just trying to, they take it in and just die, have an overdose. But nope, they explode.
Yeah, like why, if he didn't want them to do the super crack, why was the super crack in the bag that he took to the location?
Yeah, right. I think he was just having second thoughts, like because he didn't have his drill to calm him down.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Or his brain buddy.
Yeah, because after he does all the measurements, he starts panicking because he can't choose. Like, because Honey's basically saying you have to pick which girls you want at this point.
Yeah.
Like, Zora's waiting, and he starts having a little panic attack. And I think he's thinking better of it. And then for whatever reason, they have his bag and they start going through it.
He throws the bag to them.
Right, which is stupid.
You
Like, why
all you
throw the
care
bag
about
to
is
them?
money? I'm
Yeah.
talking about human life. Here, take your money. And like, oh, wait a minute, the super crack is in there.
Yeah.
Why would he have the crack and the money in the same place? It's not very smart.
He was planning on doing it regardless. I guess this was going to be like, oh yeah, here's your money, ladies. Oh, wait, here's a little bit of crack.
Yeah.
So it was all perfectly set up because he wasn't going to force them to take it. Remember, he was just going to give them the option.
Yeah, I think this just proves that he is book smart and he's lab smart, but putting things into practice, not very smart.
Yeah.
You know, he's in over his head in this situation.
I didn't understand because he has that little mental breakdown where he's like, "Oh, you guys, you women are so nice. I don't know who to choose. I don't nice in what way? They were making sexual innuendos. Is that what he considered nice? Like,
I think he was having like second thoughts about killing people.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's what it was more than them being nice people. He just that's why the super crack making them explode, it makes a lot more sense in character than him drugging them and then cutting them into pieces.
Yeah. It would have been a nice turnaround where he says, "Oh, you know, I used to think you sex workers were nobody, but you're real people."
And then they just start blowing up left
and then they're like, "Oh God, no!"
So body parts are flying all over the place. Zorro knocks down the door, gets knocked out by a flying head. After the commotion, Jeffrey starts putting body parts in trash bags and escapes through the fire escape. Back in the garage, Jeffrey gets to work putting together the perfect body with all the parts. He has a serving tray full of boobs, a barrel full of legs, stuff like that. Puts it all together and then gets Elizabeth's head out of the freezer to get his experiment ready as a storm starts picking up, a la Frankenstein. He opens up the garage ceiling and the equipment starts doing its thing as it thunders and lightnings outside. It raises the body up in the sky, and sure enough, it gets struck by lightning. But sure enough, the equipment works as a lightning rod and also strikes the freezer, which is now full of spare hooker parts. But Jeffrey lowers the bed and pulls the blanket off to reveal Elizabeth now awake. But for some reason, she has the brain of Honey, and she also starts shouting lingo that Honey said during the movie. Want a date? Got any money? That sort of thing. When he says that he doesn't have any money, she slaps him and knocks him out and then walks off, which she must have knocked him out for quite some time because all of a sudden she's in New York and on the subway freaking out all the New Yorkers, which is kind of impressive given that nothing phases New Yorkers.
Right. Yeah, and she walks there.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, from Hohokus to across the George Washington Bridge into New York City.
Is that an amalgamation of Hoboken and Secaucus?
No, Hohokus is a real place.
Is it?
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
I had to look it up, and yeah, it was.
Yeah, it's northern Jersey.
Interesting.
Not,
I
not
didn't
far
know.
from where you got married, actually.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, a little further east.
Cool.
Yeah.
Also, it appears to be annoyingly spelled in that it's ho dash ho hash cuss.
Yeah. That's why I thought it was fake.
Nope, it's Hohok. Yeah, that's exactly how you spell it. I feel like it's probably a bastardization of a Native American word.
Mm-hmm. Could be.
Yeah. Bergen County. So Jeffrey wakes up and sees that Elizabeth is gone, and then realizes that she's going back to Times Square to turn tricks. Elizabeth gets off the subway and then starts accosting every man she sees, looking for a trick. She gets aggressive with all of them, pushing away anyone that doesn't want to party, including some Japanese tourists. Eventually, she sees an old man that's down to clown, so she takes him to the Flophouse Motel and brings him into one of the rooms to fuck. So she gets undressed, and as soon as she mounts him, her electricity starts going haywire, and the old man winds up exploding due to all the crazy electricity running through his body, and he dies. And his head, although he was still alive while his head was removed from his exploded body.
Yeah, because he delivers a very kind of, womp womp. That was the best.
Yeah.
When that guy dies, I immediately heard the song with the "It's a Wonderful Way to Die," or "What a Wonderful Way to die or whatever it is.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
exactly what that guy was thinking. My life is shit.
Yeah.
This is the way to go out.
Yeah, you got to bang a hot Frankenhooker. Like the best part of that guy's week. So, meanwhile, Jeffrey has made it into the city and starts asking passersby if they've seen Elizabeth, but no one says anything. Back at the hotel, Elizabeth fishes some money out of the old man's wallet and then goes to leave. But then some other John stops her in the hallway and comes onto her, but kisses her, which then makes him explode because of the electricity, and his head flies out the window and into a trash can on the street below.
I think he was added to this movie specifically because he can make that weird face that he makes when she electrocutes him to death.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you can make a crazy face. You're in.
Hey, he does the cartoon eye cross.
Yeah.
Right. And then Elizabeth then heads to Zorro's bar. And Jeffrey continues to search for Elizabeth and comes across a couple of other prostitutes and their pimp. And they both freak out when they realize he's looking for one of Zorro's girls, as all of Zorro's girls are now dead. And this is the part where the pimp starts accosting him as he tries to leave.
Why are you dressed like that?
Back at Zorro's bar, Elizabeth continues to say things that Honey had said throughout the first act and starts to say things about Jeffrey and Jersey Boy and Zorro within earshot of Zorro, which starts to tip him off that something weird is going on. And while she starts chowing down on some pretzels, one of Zorro's flunkies starts chatting her up and takes her to a table to get to someplace more quiet. He then goes under the table, starts going down on her, and then he explodes. And Jeffrey starts to close the gap on her, and a crazy street preacher winds up pointing him to the bar. Meanwhile, Zorro is now fed up, seeing his brand that he places on the girls on Elizabeth's new arm, starts to question who or what she is.
There's a
Elizabeth
pretty
pushes
good
it.
line. I'm sorry.
Yep.
There's a pretty good line from like the Zorro's minion, or the guy who goes down on Elizabeth and dies. I think he says when a man loses his hose, he's got nothing left. And it's like oddly, if you wanted to put it in a nicer term, like when a man loses his woman, he's got nothing left. Is that what he was trying to get at in just a very roundabout way?
Yeah, I guess in a way. But I mean, Zorro doesn't love these women. He's just a pimp.
Right.
He lost
a different type of love.
Yeah, he also just lost a big income.
Right.
I mean, he lost his entire stable of women. Yeah.
He's nobody now. Zorro's out of the game.
Yeah. He's got to get more women.
That other pimp that was screaming at Jeffrey, now he has more women.
Right.
Yeah. He doesn't want to get in a war with Zorro, and Zorro is having trouble with the drug sales because, like, if you can't offer women with the drugs, well then, hey, everybody's upset.
Hey, what else do you got in life?
Mm-hmm. Essentially, while the women are sex workers, they're also drug fronts in their own way because they carry a little bit of crack on them to sell. They're like the distribution centers. They're drop shippers for crack.
Dual threats.
That's double income that he's losing now. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So did the hookers control the means of production here?
No, because he kind of forces them to do it, right?
Yeah.
So Zorro does. Got it. So Zorro is capitalism. Got it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. And the loss of the hookers is like when that one freight boat got stuck in the canal. Yeah. It's all about supply chain.
Right. Now there's gonna be crack inflation.
Crack inflation. Yeah.
Well, unless Jeffrey can offer super crack at a lower price.
Right. Yeah. It's true. Not in Joe Biden's America, though.
No. Oh boy.
Hey man, can't be selling super crack out here
at these prices.
What was the guy that he beat up at the pool called?
Hey,
Joe
Corn
Biden?
Pop. Hey,
Corn Pop.
Corn Pop, don't be selling super crack at the pool.
I thought
come on, man.
I thought for a second we were talking about Joe Biden beating someone up at the pool.
He did. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wait, when was this?
Oh, when he was like in his 20s or something like that.
1913.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
He was like a lifeguard and he beat up a gang member named Corn Pop.
Oh my goodness. That's a terrible name for a gang member.
Yeah. That's how you know it was like the inspiration for the Outsiders. He beat up Corn Pop and Pony Boy and sent them on their way.
He told him to get out of there with that malarkey.
Yeah,
that's right.
This pool is a no malarkey zone, Corn Pop.
No running, no malarkey. Those are the only rules while Joe Biden is lifeguarding.
Also, you got to consider this is probably Scranton, right? So, like,
Yeah.
what kind of fucking gangs up in Scranton?
Yeah. But it was probably 1955, so I'm sure there were greasers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Slick back hair.
Yeah. Slick black hair, live for New Year's Eve.
I went up to him. I said, "Hey, Daddy-O, you can't be selling super crack out here. Come on, man. No."
Just flicking their switchblades menacingly.
Oh man, snapping in unison.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Zorro is now fed up seeing his brand that he placed on his girls. Elizabeth pushes him, so he takes a swing at her and knocks her head clean off her shoulders. Now the electricity is really going haywire, and all the patrons start to run out of the club's safety.
I love how the bartender doesn't leave right away. She just ducks behind the bar. Everybody else is running out.
Got to man the station. Got to make sure no one tries to open up the cash register.
Yeah, go down with the ship. Got it.
Yep. It's the first rule of being a bartender in a shady-ass pimp establishment.
Yeah, these are things you'll learn from Desperado and from Dusk Till Dawn as well. The bartender always goes down with the ship.
Jeffrey wades through the sea of people going to the other direction and finds Elizabeth standing there with her head hanging on by a thread, puts her head back on, and then ushers her out and into his car and drives away. Zorro gets in a car to follow them. Does he get into a cab?
He must, right?
That's going to be an expensive trip to Hohokus.
Unless it's just some like random guy he knows.
That's what I was thinking. He might just be like waving down one of his other flunkies.
That's one of his boys.
Yeah. Back at the house, Jeffrey staples her head back on and gives her bolts in her neck, and then runs a wave of electricity through her to get her back online. When she comes to, it's no longer Honey's words, but Elizabeth herself that comes to. Her consciousness not remember anything since the party. And at first, she's impressed by Jeffrey's ability to bring her back to life. Then she starts freaking out when she realizes that he replaced her body with other women's parts. Jeffrey starts to say that he had to do some unorthodox things, but it's all worth it because she's back and they could be together again. Then Zorro sneaks in and chops Jeffrey's head off with a cleaver. Then he starts accosting Elizabeth, calling out the names of the girls she's comprised of. Basically says that he's going to take Elizabeth and make her work for him again. He's going to get her to do it with some sweet, sweet super crack. And finally, the fact that the freezer got electrocuted comes into play, and the body parts are climbing out, revealing they've become a mishmash of parts that have created small creatures, almost like a cross between Basket Case and the shunting monsters from Society. They all start attacking Zorro and then pull him into the freezer to kill him in some sort of way. And then Elizabeth picks up Jeffrey's head and has an idea. Time passes and Jeffrey comes to, and Elizabeth says that she was able to bring him back because he took such detailed notes. But as he had mentioned previously, his reviving serum only works on female bodies because it's estrogen based. So she was able to bring him back, but on a woman's body, giving him a sweet, sweet rack. And then she just parrots the words back to him that they could be together again. And that's the end of Frankenhooker. Great time.
I love it, this scene that they were barely hanging on to not show that he was literally just standing behind a dummy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how it didn't slip.
This is definitely the moment where it's like, man, they really did run out of money.
Yeah.
It's very noticeable.
Yeah.
But I was going to say real quick, what do you think is stronger, the estrogen-based serum or the super soldier serum?
Because the estrogen-based serum brings you back from the dead.
But only if you're a woman, right?
Well, I mean, woman. Yeah, if you're made part woman. I mean, also just in the way that she comes back, she gets lightning powers. So in a way, that makes her like a Lazarus and a Thor. So.
Yeah, she does have like superhuman strength.
Yeah.
Maybe not superhuman, but she's like a lot stronger than any of the girls that she is comprised of.
Mm-hmm. And then, you might want to like think that it's a weakness that her head was knocked off so easily, but I just, say that's like Jeffrey's poor workmanship.
Mm-hmm.
Like with stronger bonds and like a little bit of Gorilla Glue and some duct tape, like that would never have happened. So
if he would have stayed in medical school, he would have known how to stitch better.
Exactly. And also, had she not run off, her maybe her stitches and bolts would have had more time to heal. But
yeah, this is the beta version of this, definitely. Like she's not out of testing just yet.
That's all Jeffrey knows is beta. Hey,
he is kind of a beta cuck, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yep,
yeah,
that's
like it for sure.
Yeah, that's Frankenhooker. Great time. I had a good time with this.
Yeah, very silly, but it definitely plays it straight, like Steve was saying. It's fun. If you can get past the gratuitous nudity, listen, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but I know some people think of that one way, some the other way.
Yeah,
It didn't bother me, but I could see it bothering some people, possibly.
Yeah, I would say a lot of the nudity is almost just like circumstantial. Like you almost forget it's there in like the scene where he's doing all the measurements and everything like that,
Yeah.
because it's nudity, but it's not particularly sexualized, I guess. Like obviously when she's mounting the old man, that's a sex scene, but like otherwise not particularly sexualized. So for a movie about a movie called Frankenhooker, you would think it would be a lot more sleazy, I guess. And maybe I'm just desensitized to nudity and that kind of stuff.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, all the nudity in this like makes sense in the fact that he is paying for hookers. They are in the room. It's not like it's a scene where a girl's like brushing her hair in the bathroom and she's doing it topless.
Yeah.
It's not like the nudity has context. While it is gratuitous, it has at least context. It's not just boobs for boobs' sake. There's a reason why these girls would walk around topless. So this would be the one type of movie where I wouldn't apologize for nudity. I'm like, it's a movie called Frankenhooker.
Right. Yeah. You had to expect a little bit of it. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So that's it for the plot. We have a little bit of a game that we're going to play coming up. But before we do that, we are going to take a quick break so you can listen to some ads and we can pay those bills. And we will be back in a second. And welcome back. And now we are going to play a little bit of a game. So this movie is about building a woman out of spare parts of some blown up prostitutes. And I thought that was a good jumping off point for doing something similar. So I asked these guys to put together a list of some names of some celebs, of the regular celebs, and of the adult entertainment variety. And we are going to create and build a woman. But I have a scenario that makes this less skeevy. Maybe. I don't know. That's how I'm justifying it.
We'll let the audience decide.
We'll let the audience decide. But as I mentioned, we are talking about some women from the adult entertainment industry because I know at least a couple of our listeners expect us to talk about porn. So shout out to them. I think Jonathan 100% says that this is our wheelhouse.
I'm just picturing someone downloading a Get to the Porn already.
So our scenario is, due to low ratings, the Oscars has now merged with the AVN Awards. And at Elton John's after party, some super crack was circulated, causing explosions that has decimated the party-going population. We, us four, as the amateur surgeons we are now brought in to help build these women back up. So that's my scenario.
Pretty great.
So before we get into it, as I mentioned, we each picked about 10 names, 5 adult entertainment stars, and 5 celebs. I just wanted a quick question. Like, we don't have to run through everybody's names. We'll talk about them once they get picked. But was there any kind of criteria you guys picked for choosing? Was this like, these are my favorite? Or were you like, I want to do some variety of things. I don't want to pick all similar. Like, if you have a type of the porn star, like you want a variety. But what went into your thought process? Dan, start with you. Dan, the porno man.
Oh boy, here we go.
EDPM.
Yeah. I would say for the actresses, the Hollywood celebs, I wanted some variety. Like I picked an actress with different color hair. One was for facial features, but none of them were like, oh, these are my all-time favorite. They were just, I try to be a little random with it. In terms of the adult film stars, one of them was a legacy pick, and when we get to that name, you'll see why. But the others were just ones that I've heard about, and people say they're good, so I'm taking them at their word.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know any of these women. I just, I Googled who are the top ones. I picked the top 5.
There you go.
You know,
That's a smart bet.
Yeah, so I assume they didn't steer me wrong in one way or the other. Mark, any thought processes you had?
Well, for the Hollywood actresses, I just picked because I was going with the theme that we were putting together, a woman. So I picked ones that had very famous features on their body for a couple of them. And then for a couple of the others, it was more for the actors that I picked one just for voice. So I don't know. I don't know if that was a criteria. But yeah, for the porn stars, I just picked the ones I knew because I didn't know how to differentiate because in terms of making a Franken body here between them, and I picked a couple just so in case to sort of play to the other side of something maybe Dan would pick, just so there'd be some variety on there. But yeah, it was essentially just a variety across the board. And in terms of if you had to ask me body part X, who would you pick, sort of thing. So yeah, that's about it. That was very straightforward there. So yeah.
Okay, Steve, anything?
I picked them because they're hot.
There you go. That's all you gotta do. I just want to call out my legacy pick because I think it's a good legacy pick. Was mid-90s Jennifer Connelly. So
ooh, not bad.
So we're picking 7 things. We'll run this wheel 7 times. So for face, we got brains and personality. So this is we're going to take the brain and put it in the. So that'll be the person steering the ship. Some hair. We have hair. So I guess the top of their head fell off. Arms, legs, and tits and ass. I feel like there's got to be a better word for tits. Like boobs feels like that person's never touched a pair, right?
You say chest.
Breast is very clinical, or like something you order at a restaurant.
You can do what we do on Halloween is Forever and do the Danzig impression and say boobs.
Okay, some boobs.
Which is see some boobs.
Boobs. Yeah, that'll work. Yeah. Okay, so I guess we're just gonna start now. We're gonna start with face. All these women are pretty attractive, so I don't think there's any whammies in here.
No,
I don't think. But let's see. Our face is legacy a porn star picked Jenna Hayes, which was picked by 2 people, but then Dan changed his pick.
I did.
So,
yes.
Good old Jenna Hayes. It's a throwback. Yeah, this is not a hateable face.
Not at all.
Yep, let's go. All right, brains personality. Who's steering this ship? We got some interesting ones. I guess the question is, do you hope for an interesting personality or someone that's smart? What do you hope for?
I always go interesting.
Yeah,
smart gets you nowhere nowadays.
So you basically the big one for here then is like a Riley Reid, right?
I don't know.
I mean, is yeah, because you don't want. I think it's Asa Akira. She's like a Mensa member. So yeah.
Oh damn.
Oh,
yeah,
Asia
she's not on this
Carrera
list.
Asia Carrera was Mensa.
Asia Carrera. That's
yeah.
I mean, maybe Asa Akira as well. I don't know.
Yeah, sure. Who? I don't know.
Yeah, you picked your list from people you just thought off the top of your head.
Yeah, I almost picked Asia Carrera, but it's of no consequence, obviously.
The wheel has been spun, and our person driving this ship is Samara Weaving. Not bad.
Not bad at all.
The accent. Yeah, she seems fun. I like that pick.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yep, that was one of the 2 actresses I had mainly for voice and being a fun person to be around.
Yeah, it's good that she didn't wind up with hair after we saw that terrible wig that she had in The Babysitter 2.
Yeah, not great.
That was god awful.
All right, so a hair is on this, and I put this on the list specifically because Dan, you had picked Emma Stone specifically to have a redhead in this list. So,
and I would have liked to have her personality too. She's fun, or she seems fun.
Yeah,
but either or.
Yeah, I feel like you could have a beer with Emma Stone. Right?
Yeah, she's cool as hell.
All right, let's see who our next pick is going to be for hair. Oh, this is one that I legitimately don't know. This is Lauren Phillips. Steve, I believe this is one of your picks.
Oh yeah, well that's still a redhead, so there you go.
It's a redhead, yeah.
There you go.
Nice.
Look at that. We did get the redhead.
Now Dan has someone to look up. On this
Yep.
feed already for.
Next one is arms. I don't know if any of you guys are arms guys. Maybe a nice
Okay. I have one that would be interesting.
nice
based on her
biceps.
background.
Yeah, maybe we've got Angelina Jolie on this list. She had some nice arms in some movies, some Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
You know,
Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Wanted. You know,
Yeah.
sculpted. So let's see. I feel like I'm not an arm guy, so I don't really think I'll.
Who's important?
Yeah, arms of Sasha Grey.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, it's not.
Sure.
It's not gonna. You're not gonna. It's not gonna. Rot the whole apple.
And it's average
she
enough
was
to stand out.
she was known for her arms, so that's a good thing.
She put them to work an awful lot.
Yeah. But you could have theoretically made both lists.
Yeah, there you go. So for legs, we've got. I mean, again, it's like I know when I see a good pair of legs. Don't know if I necessarily know when I see a bad pair of legs. I feel like these are all probably pretty good.
Yeah.
Again, I don't think there's no wrong answer here, I'd imagine.
Yeah. I mean, there are some right answers. I mean, one of Mark's picks was Stacy Keebler, notorious for her legs. So we'll see. And it is Keisha Grey, another adult actress.
Yeah, pretty good.
So we are 4 out of 5.
Yeah, I think the wheel knows.
The wheel does know.
Essentially, we're just building an adult film star at this point.
Yeah, with the brains and personality of Samara
Weaving.
That's not bad.
I don't know
I'm
who
okay
that
with
is. Who's Keisha Grey? I'm gonna go look.
Grey. Who's that pick? Was that Mark?
That was mine.
That was yours.
That was Dan.
Yeah.
Danielson.
I picked her for her face. She has a very distinct look. If you look her up, you'll see. But yeah, again, she's fine. She works.
Her legs
They all
look
work. They all have jobs.
Yeah. she's got 2 legs. Looks like it works.
Yep. I specifically chose her for that. For having two legs.
pair of legs. Yeah. All right. Some boobs we're looking for here.
Yeah, boobs.
Got a lot of contenders on this one. So let's see what we got some Jennifer Love Hewitts. We got some Salma Hayeks. We getting this wheel is sticking with the adult film stars. We got Stephanie Morgan.
She's older, I think.
Whose pick was this?
That was mine.
That was yours.
Yeah. The only reason I remembered her is because she was in I wouldn't say either FHM or one of those guy magazines when we were in college.
Okay.
And I just remembered the name and I wanted to make sure I knew it correctly. Just because she has a very what's it called? Girl next door face. So I was more looking in that region for her.
Okay. Well, I hope she got some good boobs.
Those are. I keep thinking of the Chappelle sketch.
Oh yeah,
some good New York boobs.
And last one is ass. We've got Alexis Texas on this list, and I feel like that's the gold medal. But let's see
if the gold standard.
The gold standard. But we'll see. Can we get
She came up on an episode of ours on Halloween is Forever when we were talking like the best butts in horror.
We covered the one movie.
Yeah,
the Bloodlust Zombies.
Yeah.
Yes. And our ass answer is Zoe Kravitz, which was one of my picks because I needed some not all white people in my picks. So I don't know. I think that's probably good. Zoe Kravitz. Yeah. But
I mean, we didn't build some kind of freak anatomy.
Well, we didn't really do body, right? We did head, arms, legs, boobs, butt. There's no body attached.
No, I could do another body here.
Yeah,
do a body.
I think
whose body is attached to?
Yeah, we need the torso and everything.
Fill in the space. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, let's fill in the space.
All right, let's film.
Because you got to consider, like, if you're reassembling women from parts that were blown up at a party, we're bad and we're not good at judging size.
Sure.
The thing is, some of these women, like Lauren Phillips, she's like 5'10", whereas I'm pretty sure a lot of these other women are like 5'4".
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So our pick for body doesn't get really much better than this. Margot Robbie.
There you go.
yeah.
Well, see, the body matches the face.
There you go. Actually, yes, that's right. Yeah, because personality was Samara Weaving.
Oh, sorry. Damn it.
Yeah. I think that's a pretty good canvas to put all these pieces on.
It's
Now
what
we
we
just
could
gotta-
salvage from the accident.
Now, which one of us knows how to make the estrogen-based serum?
Oh man,
That's
I
the.
think
We could put it together, but now it's just a lump of people.
the people that put us in charge of this job did not check our credentials. So
I was gonna say, does
But-
the academy know how to do it?
But the last person that did this took really good notes.
he did take really
that's
good
true.
notes, though.
Yeah.
So we'll probably figure it out. I mean, they were able to do it twice in that movie,
That's a good
and
point.
one was Frankenhooker. So definitely, between the four of us, we could probably figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know how to make an IPA, and they just give you man boobs. So
It's
There-
essentially the
figure it
same
out.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
figure it out.
I feel like making that serum is not unlike home brewing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Easy
I feel like
peasy.
we're gonna put you in charge of figuring out the serum. I think
Gotcha.
is what we've decided.
And it's really just now we're going to be injecting them with IPA. It's not working.
Yeah,
I have a lot of the same tools. It'll just be like boiling it on a turkey burner and then putting it in a cardboard, and then maybe it ferments into a super serum. Maybe it ferments into double IPA. Who knows?
It's a win-win.
So that is our Frankenhottie. Not bad. I give that an A+. We're pretty good at this. So.
Yeah, I'd say so.
All right. I think that's good.
I feel like it's cheat though, because everybody's like, "Oh yeah, that's not bad. That's not bad." Oh, of course it's not bad, because we all just picked like 10 of the hottest
We
women
did
we
it.
could all think of.
Exactly. 100%. I mean, I could have thrown some whammies in there. That could have been fun. You want me to
Yeah, that's what it needed. It needed whammies. We didn't like,
some
like-
Danny DeVito's. Oh, that wouldn't work though.
We
Danny
needed,
DeVito's probably got bad legs.
Well, he's also male, so that wouldn't work.
Right.
we needed Luis Lasser in there.
Yeah, then that's just mean. I feel I feel this game becomes a lot meaner when we're just like, ooh, let's pick some uggos. It's like,
Yeah,
ooh,
I-
let's get Lena Dunham's ass.
Yeah. Then it becomes a little mean-spirited. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And-
As long
and-
as you don't get her personality, that's
You need a
Yeah.
a real randomizer, just like a randomizer on IMDb.
I did want we were talking about, we were throwing around the idea like, oh, maybe we should also like make a male Frankenstein, Frankenstein's monster out of like male celebrities. I loved, Anthony, your response, like, if you know male porn stars, that's all on you. So
that was actually Mark, but yeah.
oh, Mark, yeah, I defer to you, Dan. I'm like, oh, thanks.
That's your
I only
Stone.
know I only know a couple. I know Johnny Sins, Evan Stone.
Yeah. Everybody knows Johnny Sins because he's the man of like however many jobs.
Right.
Everybody-
Yeah,
he's been a doctor, a fireman, a soldier. He served this country.
Yeah, the best is like how many shares can this brave soldier get? it's Johnny Sins.
Yeah. But I mean, feel like that's your department, Mark. Dan, if you want.
I could have come up with something.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that's our episode. That's our game. That's Frankenhooker episode. Next week, as we mentioned, our October movie of the month, which will be decided on the poll. So go on to the Twitter and vote. Steve, you want to plug where we could find all your podcasts?
Sure. Search at Halloween is Forever pretty much on anything. You can follow us on Instagram. We're cresting 10,000 followers on there. And for Hop Nation USA, just search Hop Nation USA and that'll get you everything, all the places to follow and listen.
Okay, great. Yeah, and follow us on all your social medias. It's TikTam Pod on both Instagram and Twitter. Find us on TikTok at They Call This a Movie. And that's all the places. If you're listening to this, you probably know where to find us. And give some 5-star reviews. Give Steve's podcast 5-star reviews. Those always help, supposedly. I never see them. But yeah, be sure to do all that kind of stuff. That's going to wrap us up this week. The director of Frankenhooker is Frank Henenlotter. So, for Dan Aquino, Mark Myers, and Steve, this is Anthony Delvecchio telling Frank Henenlotter, well, you certainly made a movie, didn't you? Thanks for listening to They Called Us a Movie. Subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to check us out on Twitter and Instagram at TicTamPod. That's TCTAM Pod. You can also check us out on TikTok at They Called Us a Movie.